Hands up, who saw Errol Spence gate crash the Danny Garcia, Sean Porter post-fight press conference? Well, I did, and I was a little concerned by what I saw from Errol Spence. Now, I have long been a believer in Errol Spence's abilities. And I said a long time ago that he reminds me, not so much stylistically, but slightly stylistically, more in his mentality, he reminds me of Marvin Hagler. He has that blue collar, spitting sawdust, no nonsense, strong work ethic type Hagler mentality. And also the fact that when it comes to his ability, there's nothing about Errol Spence that jumps out at you. He's not the fastest welterweight in the world. He's not the hardest punching welterweight in the world. He's not the flashiest welterweight in the world. He's just a good, solid all-rounder whose mindset is what makes him special. This is a guy who went to the UK to fight Kell Brook in Brook's backyard. And Spence wasn't the least bit intimidated. He wasn't the least bit perturbed about the fact that he was down on the scorecards after a few rounds. The man is very, very mentally strong. This is a man who I've talked about ad nauseum before when he was just turning professional from the amateurs. He went to go spar Floyd Mayweather. Normally, fighters are in awe of Mayweather, these young amateurs. They look up to him as some kind of demigod. But that wasn't Errol Spence. Errol Spence went in there into Mayweather's gym and he gave Mayweather the business. A young fighter, really still just an amateur, a novice pro, not intimidated at all. Not looking at Floyd like his hero. No, going in there like, I'm in your gym, yeah, and I'm going to give you the business in this boxing ring. In front of everybody, I don't care. That is a special mentality. And that's the mentality that Errol Spence has had. But here's why I'm a little concerned by what I saw at his press conference. Errol Spence's behavior appears to have changed a little bit. Is the money getting to him now that he's champion? Are people gassing his head up? Because, for one, he looks a little bloated. I haven't seen Errol Spence look so heavy in between fights as he looks right now. Is it because he's not fighting as frequently now? Or again, is it because the money and the fame are starting to get to him a little bit? He got up on the stage and, to me, was acting out a character. Errol Spence is normally a pretty quiet, reserved type of character. That's how he's always been up until now. He's all boxing. He stays in shape year round. But as I said, here, he looks like he's put on quite a few pounds. That's red flag number one. Red flag number two, seemingly acting out a character. Look at the people he's hanging around now. I know that he's from Texas, like the Charlos, but the Charlos are loud characters. He was also there with Adrian Broner and Gervonta Davis, and we know Adrian Broner and Gervonta Davis, they like living the party life. Is Errol Spence getting caught up in that now too? He's even starting to dress a bit like Broner and Gervonta Davis. And hey, you know, maybe it's just the fashion of these young, rich guys, and that's okay. But is this really Errol Spence? Is he going off the rails? And what really disturbed me was the way he was talking about Terence Crawford, saying that Crawford's resume is all smoke and mirrors. Talking about Chris Algieri like Chris Algieri was better than the people Crawford has beaten, which is ridiculous. giving all these excuses basically as to why he don't have to fight Terence Crawford. And he's been doing this for a while, to be fair, making excuses about why he don't have to fight Crawford. And to me, you know, you guys can interpret this for yourselves, but to me, Errol Spence sounded like he was slurring his words on that podium there. He sounded like he'd been sipping. Let's be real. He sounded like he'd been on that, whatever, Ciroc or God knows what they drink these days. And again, that's not like Errol Spence. I'm not saying the guy's never had alcohol before. I'm sure he has. But I've never seen him get up at a press conference slurring his words before, talking rubbish. But now I have. And for a person who was a big believer in Errol Spence, to me this is disappointing. Hopefully it's a one-off. Hopefully he'll get back on his grind. Because here's the thing. The fact that Errol Spence isn't a standout fighter in terms of his physical ability, that makes him staying disciplined all the more important. If you were a prime Mike Tyson and, you know, you had one or two nights where you're out drinking and doing this, that, and the other, like a prime Mike Tyson did, by the way, you might get away with it against a lot of opponents because you've still got ridiculously quick hands. You still hit a lot harder than most other fighters. Even when you've been sipping a little bit here and there, even when you've been partying a little bit here and there, you still got this extraordinary physical talent that will allow you to surpass a lot of opponents. Errol Spence don't have that. Errol Spence has, as I say, decent power, decent speed, but nothing out of the ordinary. He's not even the hardest punching or the fastest welterweight in the division right now. Never mind historically. So for a guy like him, staying disciplined, living the life, keeping his mind in the right place is of the utmost importance. See, I'm kind of disappointed and a little concerned about the way Errol Spence looked Saturday night at this post-fight press conference, the stuff he was saying. Now, it's good that he wants to unify with the likes of Porter and Keith Thurman. He says that he told Keith Thurman he'd stop him before the 6th round. Thurman apparently laughed. I mean, we don't know where Thurman's at. He's been out for so long with, you know, injuries and whatnot. We don't know how Thurman's body is going to react to being hit again. We don't know if he can punch the way that he used to punch because of the fact that he's had issues with his elbows. That all remains to be seen. But if we're talking about a prime Keith Thurman, Thurman at his absolute best, do I think that Errol Spence would stop him in 6? It's possible if he got to him with a body shot, but I wouldn't put any money on it. I would imagine that fight would go the distance. And obviously, one thing I didn't mention about Errol Spence in terms of his strong points is the body punching. That's really his signature. Very, very good body puncher. But like I say, if you're Marvin Hagler, if you have a Marvin Hagler type mentality, you have to stick with that if you want long-term success. Because Hagler, really, another example, he wasn't as devastating a puncher as a Tommy Hearns. He wasn't as dynamic as that. He wasn't as rangy as a Hearns. He wasn't as quick as a Hearns. Let's be real. Hearns was tremendously quick. But he still got Hearns out of there. He was more durable than Hearns, I'll say that. And Errol Spence himself, too. Very good chin that he showed so far as a professional. You know, he took all Kell Brook's best shots, came right through him. And Kell Brook can punch at welterweight. I've always said that if Errol Spence was to fight a rematch with Kell Brook at 147 or 154, Errol Spence wins that rematch. Yeah. In fact, Errol Spence was poking fun at Kell Brook. You remember that? In the lead up to their fight, he was saying that Kell Brook looked fat, that Kell Brook blows up in between fights. Well, now Errol Spence is doing the same. Disappointing. You're supposed to leave all that to the likes of Kell Brook. You ain't supposed to go and do it yourself, bro. Let Brook and all your opponents go blow up in between fights. You're the one supposed to stay in shape. So, look, maybe some people are going to say, I'm expecting too much of Errol Spence. He's a young guy. He's making money. He's enjoying his life. You know, he's going to have lapses here and there. That's going to happen. All right, cool. But if you want success in this game long term, if you don't want any hiccups, if you want to minimize the losses, then you got to stay on the straight and narrow, bro. That's what you got to do. Floyd Mayweather, he is somebody who a lot of Errol Spence's generation of fighters really look up to. People like Adrian Broner. Well, these are people, I guess, the generation above Spence, but still around that kind of generation. You got the Broners, Gervonta Davis, certainly Gervonta Davis. You know, he's Spence's kind of generation, a bit younger than Spence. They look up to Mayweather. Now, say what you like about Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather used to go out late night and whatever, but Mayweather was never a drinker. Mayweather would be out in clubs. Everybody else is drinking champagne, this, that, and the other. Mayweather's sipping juice or sipping water. Now, once or twice, Mayweather did blow up in between fights, but generally Mayweather kept his weight down and he was in shape virtually year round. And he was a gym rat. So all these guys who are looking up to Mayweather, who want the Mayweather type money, who want the Mayweather type success, they have to understand that it comes with Mayweather type sacrifice. Not eating all the food and blowing up in between fights. Not getting tipsy on whatever drink your friends are drinking. You know? Sacrificing all that. Not going there. That's what it demands. Hopefully Errol Spence understands this, but look, human beings by nature are social creatures. And there are very few human beings, particularly even during the good times or bad times, but there are very few human beings who can be around their friends, be around their circle of influence and not get influenced. When everyone's having a good time, sipping this, sipping that, to be the one saying, I ain't drinking, that's hard to do for most people. Most people can't do that. Most people eventually get caught up. Yeah, because human beings are like sheep. That's how most people are. Around the world, they're like that. I thought Errol Spence was different. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe they got to him, the likes of Gervonta Davis, Adrian Broner, the Charlo brothers. The Charlo brothers work hard. They're always in shape, the Charlo brothers, but they're very different personalities than an Errol Spence, The Charlo brothers are, as I say, brash, loud characters. They're like boys around town, you know what I mean? They're just different than an Errol Spence. And Errol Spence is more of a naturally laid-back character. And one thing I always say about boxing and boxers is it's important to be yourself. It's important to stay in character, to stay in your lane and stay in your zone. Once you start acting out of character, that's when problems can arise. Is Errol Spence acting out of character here? Losing his discipline? Letting people gas his head up? You let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm sure there are going to be some of you who say, oh, come on, Hat Man, you're overreacting. It's not that deep. Well, I hope I'm overreacting. Let's just put it that way, because I rate Errol Spence. I think he is the truth. But is he living a lie right now? That's the question I'll ask you guys. Is he starting to live a lie? Let me know what you think in the comment section below, people. And particularly with the Terence Crawford stuff, Terence Crawford has a much better resume than Errol Spence. Spence is talking about, oh, Bob Arum this and Bob Arum that. We don't want to hear all that, bro. We want to hear about you fighting Terence Crawford. That's what we want to hear about. We don't want to hear about, oh, Bob Arum does this and Smoking Mirrors that. No. We want to hear about you fighting Terence Crawford. That's what the boxing fans want. Don't talk about all this rubbish about Arum and all this BS politics. No, we want to see the best fight the best. We want to see unifications. We want to see an undisputed welterweight champion. That's what we want to see. You know what Terence Crawford did at 140? Yeah, he unified. He became undisputed. And you can criticize Julius Indongo and his other opponents. At the end of the day, he went out there and he did it. Regardless who held them belts, he made sure he unified them. So if you don't rate Terence Crawford, we'll get in there and fight him then and take his belt. You know, I'm not liking the way Spence is talking about Crawford, man. I'm not liking it. Not liking it. Is Al Heyman trying to keep Spence away from Terence Crawford? Some people might say that's going on. I certainly hope not. You know, I think Al Heyman has done a lot of good things for boxing in the United States. And look, I'm well aware that promoters, even though Heyman is not officially a promoter, I'm well aware that promoters try and keep things in-house when they can. And obviously the welterweight division is dominated by Heyman fighters. Garcia, Furman, Spence, Porter, these are all Al Heyman guys. Is Heyman trying to keep it all in-house and not jeopardize his stranglehold on the division? Particularly now that Bob Arum has got a stake at 147 in Terence Crawford. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, people. It's happening. I'm out.